You are listening to the Manumit Podcast. My name is Casey, and I'm here with my buddy Glenn Johnson, investment advisor and founder of Jabez Financial right here in the Uncasville area. All right, so let's jump right in. Today, Glenn, I wanted to talk about staying in control of your retirement future today. And for some folks approaching retirement, there's a growing concern that their career path might change before they're ready to retire. And it's all because of AI. So I want us to think about this. You know, back before technology took over certain jobs, somebody had to do them. So think about it. We used to have our milk delivered door to door by the milkman. We used to have our street lamps lit by hand by somebody. We used to have actual telephone operators manually connecting our calls. That one's actually really crazy to think about. But eventually, technology came along and it made all those jobs that I just mentioned completely obsolete. And now artificial intelligence is raising a similar question for a lot of workers who are approaching retirement. So the Boston College Center for Retirement Research had a new analysis that found that older workers in jobs with greater exposure to AI have become somewhat more likely to leave the workforce since the rise of tools like ChatGPT. So I bring this up, Glenn. My question is, if somebody is in their late 50s or their early 60s and they're worried about how technology might change their career plans, I'm wondering how you help them make sure that retirement remains a choice rather than a surprise. How can you help them retire still on their own terms? Are these conversations that you're having in your office?
It really is. Yeah. And these are legitimate concerns, and justifiably so. Because the changes in technologies, it can and has wiped entire industries out overnight. Like remember Blockbuster Video or, waiting for your pictures to develop. I remember that, or running to answer the phone because it was nailed to on a cord, it was on a cord nailed to the wall. Obviously, those things, a lot of them sound archaic now, but it really wasn't that long ago. And now at the rate at which technology advances, it's crazy. Just blink and there's something new. So how do you adapt when so much is changing and changing so quickly?
Yeah. I mean, that's the question right there. Instead of fearing change, though, it sounds kind of like the goal is learning how to respond to it. But I'm wondering how we do that, Glenn. Break it down for us.
All right. Well, there's two parts to it, like two different seasons. So like one part is you've got to be able to adapt your career during your working years. With all the technological changes, you've got to be able to adapt your career while you're working. And number two, secure your financial independence for later in life at the same time. So let's think about it. So when I was a kid, adults would have the same job at the same company for 40 years. They even had pensions, which were great. And both were, people were working at the same time, working at the same company for 40 years. And they were having pensions. And basically, those are both things of the past now. I mean, yeah, it still happens, but rarely.
Yeah.
So when technology didn't change all that much during one person's working lifetime, you only really needed to learn how to do one thing rather well. But now, as new technologies are introduced, they revolutionize business and everyday life. So what becomes more important now is actually how quickly can we adapt to change?
Well, and that's a great point because today's career path looks a lot different than it did for our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation, right?
That's right. And it's a different economic environment today. Now it's like when you have another job change, you just pack up, roll out your 401k, take it with you to the next company and keep going. Mm-hmm. But when that new technology is introduced, that's what creates all the turmoil. Like I remember reading in Paul Zane Pilzer's book, Unlimited Wealth. And he was a fantastic economist. He tells this story of having 10 men on an island, and all 10 men need to fish to be able to feed their families. Then a missionary comes along and drops off a net. And now 2 men can catch enough fish to feed everybody. What's the problem? 80% unemployment. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 ways of handling it. Well, one is you can tax the men with the net 80%, so everyone still gets fish. Or you can take the 8 men that no longer need to fish, and one of them can learn how to build better huts. Another one can learn some different what medicines are available. One of them can learn better farming, and
grow our skills. Let's adapt.
Exactly. So when a new technology is introduced, yes, you have that initial feeling of, oh, geez, now we've got more unemployment. But that actually opens up the door for more opportunity for these people to make lifestyle better for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, that it's not always a comfortable circumstance. We don't want to have to be going through that. Mm-hmm. But if we recognize that if we can develop the skill set of learning how to change and learn how to do new things quickly, now we can continue to be successful as the economy changes. So take your career path. Your career path is going to look different from what your parents looked like. So you need to prepare differently in order to be properly equipped. See, that really doesn't mean that it's any harder today than it ever was. It's just different. I mean, shoot, anything can be hard if you're unprepared, uneducated, or ill-equipped. But when you're properly prepared, almost anything can be accomplished.
So it's sounding like to me that success today, it's less about predicting every single change that may come, but it's more about being ready for whatever change comes next and being adaptable.
Right. And it extends beyond financially ready. So see, because of how quickly things change now, in order to have greater success, there's a greater need for mental and emotional flexibility. And being able to adapt to change well is a learnable skill. I mean, so, for example, like Leon Megason, he was a business professor in 1963. He said something that was profound then, and it's still true today, and that's this: it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one that's most adaptable to change. So, throughout an ever-changing working lifetime, we've also got to secure a financial future for later in life.
Yeah, okay. So this is really where the financial side of the conversation comes in, because eventually we want our work to become optional, right, Glenn? So where does Jabez Financial come in? How can you help people in this department?
Well, this is exactly why the Manumit Success Plan was created. And this is exactly where it comes into play. And it's a 5-step process. We start with number 1, and this is probably the single most component of all of it. And that is discovering your purpose. Discover your purpose. You've got to know not just what it is that you're doing for a living, but why are you doing it? What is that purpose? And when you recognize that you were given one purpose in life as a young adult, and as when you're raising a family and having a career, and purpose changes throughout life, but it's always there. So we've got to discover what that purpose is for the next season of life. Then define your resources. You've got to just look at what you've got, list it out. So I've got this account over here, that account over there. I have these connections. I've got these relationships. We really define, make a list of, take an inventory of all those assets. Number 3, design your strategy. So now you know what your purpose is. You know what you're working with. Now you've got to put together a strategy, and one that's going to work, one that's been tested, one that's proved, one that has the flexibility to navigate markets that are up and markets that are down, so that it doesn't have to change your daily lifestyle. So number 4, once we've got that plan laid out, we deploy the plan, put it into action. We've got to realize that we've discovered our purpose, we've defined our resources, we've designed our plan. Now we deploy it. As soon as that plan gets into action, we start seeing the results from it, and that peace of mind comes into play where, wow, I am going to be okay. I've got the cash flow that I need. I'm not missing out on the growth that good markets have to offer. So we put that plan into action, and then every year, or even more frequently, we disciple the future. We disciple it. I mean, we've got to make corrections. We make adjustments along the way. We change where we receive our cash flow from. Are we taking the gains off the market, or are we letting them wait to recover? Are we taking our cash flow from our secured accounts so we can give our investments time to recover? We make those adjustments along the way by discipling the future. And so putting the Manumit Success Plan together, start to finish, we end up being able to construct a lifestyle that we thoroughly enjoy without the stresses and the concerns of what may happen next. So implementing the Manumit Success Plan is an ideal way to secure your financial future. And so I invite you to give us a call, come in for a conversation. We'll find out what it is. I'd love to get a chance to get to know you and find out how we may be able to work together. But I'd love to see you. Give us a call, come in for a conversation, take a look at this Manumit Success Plan and see how it can really make a difference for you.
860-288-9977. That's the number to do it. Glenn, I know you've worked with so many retirees throughout the years in your career. You've talked to a lot of people. You do a lot of mentoring as well. I'm curious what you think of the why. Why do some people embrace change while others struggle with it so much? What have you gathered on that throughout so many years in your career in this industry?
Well, I think it becomes harder for people to embrace change when the past looks more exciting than the future. So if we're looking back at life, and let's say you're 60, 70 years old and you're thinking, all right, well, I'm just looking at a timeline here and I've got more years behind me than ahead of me. And so chances are there's more good in my past than in my future. It becomes harder to change because we're looking backwards. But when we can change where we're looking, like there's a reason why your windshield is huge and your rearview mirror is small. It doesn't matter how many years ahead of you've got. It's the years ahead of you that matter the most. There's nothing we can do about the past, but we have a tremendous amount of influence on how good our future can be. So when we have a conversation about, well, what would you like your future to look like? And it doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or 80. Your future is what you've got. So let's focus on that. And when we can put some ideas together to say, wow, things can actually be better tomorrow than they are today, now we can start to embrace a little bit more change because we've got something to look forward to rather than getting farther and farther away from what used to be good.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manumit Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.